Hi everyone and welcome to Newspapers Lesson 4. Today we're going to be focusing on media representations. Now representation is a key concept in GCSE Media Studies, so it's one that you should be aware of. If not, just a reminder what representation is. It's how media texts deal with and present the world, how they represent groups of people, individuals, places and so on. Now, media texts newspapers are really interesting when it comes to representation because they are extremely powerful. They can shape an audience's knowledge and understanding about the world that we live in. And so some more vocabulary that I'd like you to make sure that you know. First of all, the idea of construction. Now, all media texts are constructed. They're put together, they're created. So if we're watching a Marvel superhero movie like Doctor Strange, or we're watching or we're reading a newspaper like the Times, these have been put together by people, choices have been made, the way that they're putting information across, the decisions, whether they be conscious or subconscious, have been made by people. So the layout, the writing, the words they choose, the way they describe situations, as well as sort of the layout of the images, they're all there to get a particular message across. Now, this is a process which is called mediation. If you have a look at the first 5 letters there, media, this is what we're really studying at the moment in media studies. We're looking at the process that everything goes through before it reaches an audience. You need to be aware that nothing that you're presented by the media is actually real. It's a slice of reality, it's a version of reality. Sometimes it's something which is designed to create reality, like for example the Omo advert, which was there to really create that idea that women need to be doing the laundry and being very happy about it when they do it well after World War II. So, this idea of mediation, everything goes through this mediated process before it reaches you. So they crop the photographs, they caption them, they choose the photographs they're going to use to best suit their particular story and the angle that they're choosing for the story. How real life events are portrayed in a news report. These are all examples of mediation. Selection is one of the parts of mediation. It's what's been selected. So if you've got 100 photographs, you can only put one of them. But which one? Well, it depends what story you're reporting. You want to choose the picture. If it's a negative story, it might have caught somebody at just the wrong moment as they're saying something and give them a weird looking face. Or it might be under some really bad lighting, or if it's a positive story, you might sort of Photoshop it a bit, touch it up, make them look a little bit sort of better looking than perhaps they are. Right? Newspapers do all of these things routinely. Now, selecting certain facts over others, we looked at those news values. They're going to prioritise what order a newspaper story is in the newspaper. Is it going to be on the front page? That's where the big news goes, or is it going to be buried on page 17? Who knows? It depends on the readership, it depends on the journalists, and it depends on the newspaper that they're actually writing for and who owns it, amongst other things. We've got the idea of anchorage. Anchorage, a picture is just a picture. A picture tells 1,000 words. So we need to make sure that when our picture is telling 1,000 words, we need to make sure that we've got the right picture and it's telling the right story. So very often a caption underneath the image will tell us what that is a picture of. And it will lead us into a particular interpretation of that picture. Because otherwise you'd be free to make of that picture what you will, and that might undermine the story or it might create confusion. You've got to be clear. And ideology. Now this is basically somebody's worldview, their ideology. Very often media producers, the people who own the newspapers, have a particular ideology that is really sort of brought through the newspapers. So we're looking at bias in newspapers. But the thing is, there's no law against it. Newspapers are supposed to report the truth. They don't always, but they can be as biased as they want. TV news, BBC, ITV, Channel 4, and Sky News, they have to be unbiased. They have to be balanced. But there's no regulation to say that newspapers have to. Now, they often rely on stereotypes to more easily report news, also to describe characters quickly. So, if we want a story about teenagers, well, it's quite easy to find a photograph of a teenager looking surly on a park bench that we can use to, underline that story. And we've got the stereotype of the troublesome teen. Now, so these are really, really dangerous. They can lead audiences to really generalise about people, about places, and about the way that the world actually is. Look at this example here. There's two contrasting stories here from the same newspaper. I believe the Daily Mail. And the first one is about Kate Middleton. She's got this homegrown bouquet of lily of the valley. It's following the royal code. So this is very much an approving story about Kate Middleton. Now we've got a contrasting story about Meghan Markle and how they may have put Princess Charlotte's life at risk. The same event, but just reported in a very, very different way. Here we go. What should a teenager be? Good time girl or a stay-at-home? Well, we're all stay-at-homes at the moment, aren't we? But if you think about that newspaper story there, obviously they're using stereotypes of teenagers. Now, we've got two extremes here. Are you a good time girl or are you a stay-at-home? Well, I think that we all know that that's a ridiculous generalisation. People don't fit neatly into two categories. So there is a lot of political bias. It's just the way that newspapers work. If you have a look here, this is The Sun, right-wing newspaper, supports the Conservative Party. This is just before the 2017 general election. Election 2017, we've had enough of Jez's rubbish, vote Tory. This particular story is trying to get people not to vote Labour because they are terrorist friends, useless on Brexit, destroyer of jobs, enemy of business, massive tax hikes, puppets of unions, nuclear surrender, ruinous spending, open immigration, Marxist extremists. Don't chuck Britain in the core bin. The Sun says. So again, we've got front page. This is opinion. And then the next day, we've got the Daily Mirror, which is a left-wing paper. And there, if you contrast, there's a very happy smiling. He's still wearing the same shirt and tie, but he's happy and he's smiling, thumbs up. Here he's very much a kind of a comedy villain. In the rubbish bin, surrounded by flies, with all the rest of the trash. But here he's very much the sort of successful. So core blimey is the alternative headline there. Here we have the Times, Boris Johnson. In the interest of fairness, we've looked at the left, let's look at the right. So the Times is quite a right-wing newspaper, but it's a very serious readership, A and B and a few C1s. Boris Johnson, they're going to work with this kind of weird salute there. He looks a bit like, that looks like an intertextual reference to a guy called Frank Spencer, who was a comedian in the 1970s, a bit of a clown. Compare that to the Daily Express. Now look at Boris Johnson here, he's got this gritty expression, the die is cast, that's a quote which is referencing Julius Caesar, the great Roman leader, Alii acta est, which of course Boris Johnson would know, being a classics scholar. But there he looks a lot more gritty, a lot more businesslike. He's pointing, he's got a steely look in his eye. So you can see that the way that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has been presented on these two front pages is again very, very different in the same way as these two representations of Jeremy Corbyn. Okay, let's move on. So looking at the Daily Mirror front page. What representations have we got on here? Now, I've designed a worksheet which I'd like you to have a go at, please. It looks a little bit like this. And you can see that I've done the first one for you. I've chopped this up and taken all the bits out and put them in the grid on the left for you. I've put through down here as well what they actually are. And I've done the first one for you. So Royal Exclusive, the strap line here just above the headline. So we've got buzzwords, Royal, exclusive, make this story seem important, and that only the Mirror has access to this news. The use of capital letters in a simple sans serif font help draw attention to the strapline and make it seem important and factual. Okay, so if we have a look at that front page, I'm going to take you through an analysis of it now. So listen carefully, you can use this information to help fill out the grid, and then you're going to do the same with the Times front page, but you're going to do that on your own, please. So looking at this, we have, as I say, we've got the strapline here, Royal Exclusive, the word Royal obviously being connotations to the royal family here, so that's something which is quite, that's real insider knowledge to do with the royal family. They're a very private bunch of people, and this exclusive as well. the fact that it's an exclusive, it gives the impression that the Daily Mirror has this story that nobody else has. So if you want to find out what's happening in the sort of the royal family's secrets, you're going to have to buy the Daily Mirror. Could be the best ATP you've ever spent. Here, we've got the headline, Kate's bids to heal hurtful rift between Wills and Harry. Now, it's really interesting because these are members of the royal family. You can see that they're all referred to first name terms. So we've got here Kate, we've got here Wills, we've got here Harry. Okay, and I think that that's basically it's trying to tell us that what the story is here, that Prince William and Prince Harry have fallen out, and Kate Middleton is trying to sort of bring them back together. Now, at this time, this was you can see they're wearing their poppies there. This was at an Anzac. So the Anzac was the Australia and New Zealand Armoured Corps, and it was a special ceremony remembering those Australian and New Zealand soldiers that fell in World War I. So that's why they're wearing poppies, that's why he's wearing medals, and that's why they're there. But I think it's really interesting the way that this photo has been posed. If we use our rule of thirds, we can see that Kate Middleton is right in the middle there. And she's kind of, she's in a space of her own. But there's this space between them, there's this gulf here. There's this gap, they're not quite together. So even though they're a medium long shot, this isn't exactly a two shot because there's this gap between them. You can see that in that gap is this photograph here, the secondary image of Prince William looking out at us, looking all sort of kind of steely-eyed and royal. They're smiling, so they're obviously getting on quite well. We've got the caption up here, listen to Sis, Kate and Harry chat in London yesterday. So the impression that we're getting here is they are discussing this falling out. So they're discussing what's happened and how they're going to source out. Now, obviously, lots of signifiers of royalty. We've got Kate Middleton's blue coat there, which is very, very elegantly cut. She looks absolutely stunning, in my opinion. She's got that wonderful little hat with the fascinator. So, she looks very, very glamorous, very much the idea of a modern kind of almost sort of Disneyfied princess. Harry, on the other hand, there, he's looking sort of roguish. He's got a bit of the old designer stubble going on there, wearing a very nicely cut suit there, and that looks like a regimental tie. So again, because he used to be a soldier, and he's got his medals that he won in, I think it's all right, might be in Afghanistan. He's got his medals that he won, and he's got all of these sort of military signifiers all over him, reminding us that he actually knows what he's talking about, and that he's got every reason to be there at this memorial service. Okay, so overall, I think that the way that this is constructed is really, really clear. We have to go inside the newspaper to find out more. Pages 6 and 7, it's not really sort of high priority, but this is enough on the front page for this image to tell us exactly what's going on. We will be looking at pages 6 and 7 in a future lesson, but right now we're just looking at the front pages. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to you now, please. I'd like you to have a look. This is the contrasting front page image from the Times. So I'd like you to think very much about camera shots and angles. So it's a bit low angle to me, so think about what that might suggest. And try and use these ideas here as prompts. Now I'm going to put the red cards on the Google Classroom as well. So if you do get stuck, remember that there are sentence stems on there, because I would like you also to have a go at answering this question. Now, this is a 20-mark question, so I'm looking for 5 paragraphs. How has the story regarding Kate Middleton and Remembrance Day been reported to appeal to the readers of the Daily Mirror? In your answer, you should refer to who reads the Daily Mirror, the front cover of the Daily Mirror, and I'd like you to sort of think about the analysis that you've completed and write your ideas up. So I'm looking for about 1.5 to 2 pages here. Okay, if you have any questions, ask me on the stream, or Miss Jacobs if you're in 11C ME2, and we'll be able to help you out. I'm really, really looking forward to reading your analyses. Good luck, everyone. Well done.